Hi friend, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and today we're going to do something cool, okay? This is a new segment that I'm trying out. It's kind of like the segment I've done in the past where I build in a visualizer a rig, just to give you an example of something I would build without having to find a venue and stage hands and lights and put it all together. And it's called David Builds It. And so part of the inspiration of this design is, of course, the great website, if you're not familiar with it, churchstagedesignIdeas.com. On that website, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way, although it's a free website, but on that website, they've got a variety of stage designs, okay? And they look really cool, really impressive, and they're often really budgety. And so my friend Kevin Ward from Mix Coach actually challenged me a couple months ago as we were getting into this COVID thing. He said, David, what I would like to see from you, and this is paraphrased a little, but he said, what I'd like to see is, hey, let's look at some of these, and I've got it up on my monitor here, some of these big broadcast events that we see online, things like the Oscars, the Emmys, Ellen's Game of Games, American Idol, and let's look at these, look at the set designs they're doing, and then build them for our churches, bands, whoever, venues, whatever, your living room, whatever. And so I said, okay, I want to take you up on that challenge, Kevin. Here's what we're going to do. In this episode, the first version of this, we're going to build what I'm calling the Infinity Square from American Idol. Here's a picture. And so we see, I believe this is from American Idol 2020, though I have to admit I'm not a watcher of American Idol. And so take that with a grain of salt. And we see here, in the picture here, we see basically these pods of 3 squares deep, okay? And just to analyze it a little bit, we can see if we look at the screen that each pod basically has an outer rectangle, a middle rectangle, and an inner rectangle. And they're all covered in LEDs. I'll see if I can get a close-up and add it in here. The outermost is closest, basically, to the viewer, and then they set back the next one a little bit, and they set back the third one just a little bit more. Now, what makes this design work? Before we build it, we got to talk about, okay, what makes this thing work? Well, what makes it work is there's a black backdrop, and the frames of this unit are black as well. This makes all of that hide, and only the LEDs shine through. Number 2, what makes it work? Well, they've got a huge space and they've hung a ton of these in there. And so that makes it look super cool. And the third thing that makes it work is, of course, the LEDs itself. Those LED pixels, or it could be regular LED tape. If you need to know the differences between the two, check out my article on that here. But the fact that they've got all these LEDs on it makes it basically shine and makes it a set piece itself. Now, how are we going to build this thing? Well, I'm here in my studio, Learn Stage Lighting Studios here, Studio S as we call it, and we're going to build basically a micro version of it, okay? Because I've got, from side to side here, just to let you guys know, I've got 8 feet wide in this room. And so we're going to build a scaled down version of basically the same thing. Off the top of my head, I'm going to go plan it out here. We're probably going to be about 3 feet wide for each panel. And we're going for the largest panels, and then 1.5 feet tall, or maybe 2 feet tall, to kind of keep that same note that they have. And we're going to build these. And then here's what the plan is for that, is I'm going to build them, I'm going to show you how I build these things, and then I'm going to have, inside of Learn Stage Lighting Labs, complete build plans as to how I did everything, where I ordered everything, and how you can do it. Now, the reason why it's in the labs is, one, it's kind of a more premium thing, and two, it's going to take a lot of time to build, but also is just the fact that we have a whole guide in there called How to Start with LED Pixels. I'm totally butchering the name, which goes through, okay, how do you work with LED tape and pixels, gives you all of the information to do that, so I don't have to go over that all here. So check out Learn Stage Lighting Labs if you're interested. But now, let's build the thing. The very first thing that I did was I decided on size. So the completed thing, I mentioned earlier, I think, that I was going for about 3 feet, and then I decided to do it in meters. I went on Amazon and got a meters tape measure, because ultimately LED tape is sold in meters, and it comes on typically 5 meter rolls or longer.
And so why not base my design around meters? So I basically went ahead, I cut my wood on my miter saw, of course, using all important personal protection equipment, and set out to basically cut 1 meter sticks and half-meter sticks. Now, on the 1 meter sticks, I did leave myself a little bit of extra room because I want the strip to land in the middle, and I want it to be 1 meter long. So I made it 1 meter basically plus the width of the wood, plus a little bit more, got me in about the right place. Again, not rocket surgery here. I'm just kind of averaging it out. Then I went ahead and I just nailed these things together. Depending on how modular you would want a design like this to be, you could screw them together. You could use pocket hole screws. There's a lot of ways you could make frames like this, but I went with the quick and easy. I grabbed an electric nail gun and just nailed these together with some blocks on the back. Now, this might allow me in the future, if I wanted to take this apart, I could, and it wouldn't be too bad. Then we painted. Grab some black paint off Amazon. I love this stuff. It's pretty inexpensive, and you can get it right to your door through Amazon. If you want to buy a full gallon at the store, you can, but black paint on stuff like this goes a really long way. And so next, guys, we hit the moving inside time. And so I laid out all my boxes, freshly painted but dry, and started laying out my LEDs, and I cut them to size. Mounted them on there. Again, you should, unlike the mistake I made, you should go buy the right LEDs that have tape on the back. Mine did not. I bought some cheap ones that were outdoor, but again, it's what was in stock for me. And so I went ahead and mounted those all with some mounting tape, just little dabs of it. But if yours has adhesive on the back, your LEDs, then you won't have to do this. And I started soldering. For LEDs like this, we get 3 wires. We have voltage, plus and minus, and I'm using 12-volt pixels. And then we have a data line, okay? So I used 3-conductor wire at an 18 gauge because I'm not pulling a lot of power across these because they're fairly small. And I connected them all together. I used these connectors that I got from the manufacturer of the LED strips that are just kind of a waterproof plastic connector to connect them all together. And as I went, I connected them to my Entech Pixel Octo to test them. Great little box, highly recommended, especially if you're going to do a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of Pixel controllers out there, and this is one of the easiest ones to use, I've found. So once we did that, we soldered, we tested. Now I went ahead and hung them. I just used a theatrical tie line to hang them from the ceiling here in my studio, my office, and hung them as best as I could. Now, I don't really have the space vertically, or rather depth-wise, to hang them deep, so I just hung them at the same level. And so compared to the American Idol, they don't quite look the same, but they look quite good. So let's hop back and chat about how they turned out.
All right, so what do you think? How'd they turn out? I think they look pretty cool. For a couple bucks in wood, some, cheap LED strips, of course, nicer strips would look better, especially with these triple pixels going on. And a little bit of time, less than a day to build these 2. And if you're building more and you had help, you could go pretty quick. We were able to create something that looks really cool and functions well as a stage backdrop. You can see here that this backdrop works best, like many like this, if you keep light off of it, generally, right? So here I'm standing pretty close to my light here. I've got not a ton of light on these, but there is some. And as long as we keep most of our light off that backdrop, we're going to have a really great look, a lot like American Idol. So if you enjoyed this, I want to know from you guys. Subscribe first of all, and let me know down below that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you'd want to see more of this, with these step-by-step how-to guides and such. And of course, if you have questions, you want to build it, you want all the details, we've got it inside Learn Stage Lighting Labs. Awesome. I'll see you in our next video. Thanks.